Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of the Fishing Teacher, and really appreciate you guys joining us for today's video. And guys, I know you're going to be happy that you tuned in today because I'm going to share with you all a technique that is one of the best early season ways to catch bass that hardly nobody uses that I have ever seen, and that's fishing a wake bait in cooler water temperatures. So we're going to get into that in today's video. I think it's going to help you guys out. I'm also going to get started for a couple different things here before we get started, guys. I just want to remind you that Tackle Warehouse has got a bunch of the Blaukat throwback jigs back in stock now. They were running low. A lot of people had ordered them, but they're stocked up again now. For the month of February and March, guys, we've been talking about this. Try to get you some of the brown with orange in them, 3/8 ounce or ½ ounce with a green trailer on it. So I'll put my Blaukat throwback jig in the link in the description there at Tackle Warehouse if you guys would like to pick up a couple. And definitely can't go wrong with brown and orange. I use green pumpkin on it most of the time, but if the water's like the water visibility is like less than 1.5 feet, I may put like a brown one on there or even a black. But brown and orange, really good color this time of year. Okay guys, wake baits. If you're not familiar with it, a wake bait is a lure that's got some type of a flat bill on it like this, that is a topwater lure that just goes real slow across the water like that. And it just leaves, and the reason it's called a wake bait is it goes real slow just on the surface like that, and it leaves a wake behind it, like a boat or something that you can only detect if the wind's not blowing. That is the key to it, is fishing these things on calm conditions in the early spring. Now there's a couple different ones. This is the Megabass iJack. This old red fin's one of my favorite. Rapala makes a good one. I'll put my link in my Tackle Warehouse link in the description for all the wake baits if you guys would like to order a couple of them we're talking about here. But they're all good. I've caught fish on all of them here. It just depends on what the fish want that day. But again, they're all sort of the same. They got sort of the flatter lip here. The red fin's got a little bit more of a angle to it, but it's still same thing. It just stays across the surface like there. And same with the Rapala. They all just do the same thing. They just go this is about the speed you want to work them to, just real slow like that. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about how you want to fish these, and then we'll get into the type of areas, because the type of areas you fish these in are super key. If you don't throw wake bait in the right area, you'll never get a bite on it. So we'll get into that. But one of the things you have to do with this in order to get it work right, number one, you've got to throw it on mono. You cannot throw it on fluorocarbon or braid. Throw it on monofilament line. Usually I'll throw anywhere between, say, 14 to 20 pound test, depending upon how long I need to cast. And then you want a long rod, like a 7.5 foot, some type of a medium action bait cast rod. And you want, when you cast that out there, guys, you want to keep your rod tip high and just reel it just about like this. No stop and go, just a consistent reel, rod tip pointed like at 11 or 12 o'clock. And the reason you want that rod tip high in the air is to keep your line out of the water. And the more that your line is out of the water, the less the baits have a tendency to dive underwater. Because if you cast it out there and just try to reel like that with the rod tip pointed straight at it, a lot of times it'll cause that bait to dig down under the water, and you don't want to do that. If your bait digs under the water, you're either reeling the bait too fast or you got your rod too low. So slow technique, rod tip straight up like that, and that'll allow it to just go, real slow just across the surface like that. Now, another thing about the conditions with this is this works good in cold water. Most people would never throw a top water in the type of situations you can catch them on a wake bait, but when the water temperature is anything over 50 degrees, like if it's, say the water is 50 degrees, most people don't throw a top water in 50-degree water. That's perfect situation for the wake bait. That is 50 to 55 degrees is like the perfect water temperature for that. Again, not many people are going to be throwing it. This is a technique that when people catch them on it, it's like the first thing somebody says, like, I can't believe they caught them on top water. It's so cold out. This technique will pull fish up out of that cold water to bite it. So here's what you have to have and what you need to look for. Number one, you got to have some clean water. You got to have water visibility that is like at least 3 foot, maybe 3 to sort of that 4 to 5 foot clarity is perfect. All your lakes like Lake Lanier in Georgia, all the Ozark lakes, the Northern California lakes, the Eastern Tennessee lakes, they all got 4 foot of visibility in them. So 4 foot of water clarity is perfect. It helps if you have an overcast day, not necessarily, but the main thing is you can't have any wind. This is a technique for a calm day. If you have any wind, Now, I'm not saying you can't have just a tiny, tiny ripple like that, but it's better if it's glass smooth because, again, you can see the wake out there. And when you're reeling these things and it's really calm, sometimes you can see the wake 3 or 4 feet behind the bait. Just that slow retrieve, throwing that wake out there. And guys, those big ones will come up and they'll just inhale it like that. It's like they swim up behind it like this. And it's not, the baits up here, it's not like they come up and crash it like a topwater. They swim up to it like that and they'll just grab a hold of it and pull it under. Real subtle strike. So here's where you want to fish it in. This is the most important deal. You want to fish it in the back part of coves. Usually what I do is I go about 2/3 of the way back into a cove. It helps if it's a little bit steeper cove. And I just start fishing everywhere in the middle of the cove to the bank. Most of the fish are going to come in the middle of the cove. So here's a perfect scenario. Let's say that you go back in the cove and you go back, you know, probably 75% of the way back in that cove. And you may have like, you know, 50 to 100 yards, maybe not 100, but maybe 50 to 75 yards before the cove actually ends. Get your boat like in, you know, probably no more than 15 foot of water. I usually start shutting it down in 15 feet of water. And my boat is in the middle of the cove in 15 feet of water, and I'm casting right down the middle of that cove. And I'm reeling that bait slow, just in the middle of that cove. I may throw off to the side a little bit, but I'm trying to keep that bait sort of in that 5 to 10 foot zone. This is where those fish are staging at a lot of times this time of year, and they're down there, they're staged, some of them are suspended, and they will just swim up slow with that, guys, and just grab that thing off the surface. And that's not the only place you can catch them, but that is the best area. Some type of protected water in a cove or creek or something like that with clear water. You're not going to catch many fish on it on like main lake stuff, especially when it doesn't blow. But anyway, guys, give it a try. I'll link them in the description. Whoops. Like I said, I really like this Megabass iJack, either that or the Rapala one. Bomber Long A is a good one too. I'll put the Wakebait link in the description. You guys can choose for yourself there, but give it a try, guys. It's a great way to catch some big ones, so hope it helps out.